This Steve Jones Show podcast is now loading. The Steve Jones Show podcast is presented by Sunbury Motor Company, Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and NIL Game Changers.
Uh-oh.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Brewers Outlet, Sunbury Motor Company, and Purdy Insurance. Now, from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Warren far side with Clifford. With Evans, Near side, it's Wallace. Singleton in the pistol. Play action, Aller. Waits. Throws near corner for Warren. He's there. He's got it. Touchdown, Penn State. To left, to right. Aller goes back. Waits. Long and deep. He's looking for Evans in the end zone. He's got it. Touchdown, Penn State. Jack, you called it yesterday when we talked about it. 40-yard attempt near hash. Angle to his right. Tyler Dzansky will snap it. Riley Thompson will put it down. Angle to his right. Put down. Kick is up by Barker. The kick by Barker is good, and the Nittany Lions get points before the half. 7 offensive linemen in the game. Allen left side, breaks away 35, near side 40, 45, 50, down the near sideline, keeps his balance to the 40, and finally out of bounds. Penn State gets a first down. Good job by Cooper Cousins to lead at that time. Aller takes it. Back, blitz coming. Waits, pump fakes, throws in the end zone. Warren goes up, reaches, he's got it. Touchdown, Penn State, Tyler Warren. A spectacular catch in the back of the end zone. Third down and 24. Take it, back he goes, throws, down the far sideline, and intercepted by Wheatley. Wheatley to the 30, Wheatley side of the field, 35. Wheatley breaks the tackle, hit and belted down at the 40-yard line. Zakee Wheatley with the interception for the Nittany Lions. Capers in motion away from us. Genty to the left, Louder, tight right. Madsen takes it, back, steps up, delivers downfield. It's intercepted by Penn State. Picked off for the Nittany Lions by Zion Tracy, and the Nittany Lions with 3:37 to go can sense it.
The quarterback doesn't run that often, but every once in a while, everybody covered downfield. He can step right up into the pocket and made the run for the first down.
Back goes Madsen, rolls right, being chased. Down he goes, back at the 21-yard line. Amin Vanover. It's going to be signaled to the left side, gets the block to the 45, 50. There he goes. He is gone. 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Penn State. He's been bottled up all night, but not that time.
You're exactly right.
So there you go. That was Tuesday night as the Nittany Lions win the Fiesta Bowl. Next is the Orange Bowl. It's either going to be Notre Dame or Georgia. We will find out this afternoon with that game being played in New Orleans. Very pleased to be joined by one of the absolute best in the business, and that is Mark Wogenrich. Mark, welcome to the show. Always great to have you with us.
Appreciate it, Steve. You got me a little fired up listening to the highlights. I didn't get to hear them this weekend, so that was phenomenal.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate that. And, somebody had to say words, so it was me. All right. Mark, you watch the performance. At this point, it's all the cream of the crop. Boise State's really good. Why was Penn State better?
Tom Allen was absolutely just so illuminating after the game in talking about the defensive performance and plan that they had for Ashton Genty. It's not that there was not respect for him as a player. I think they went into that game maybe elevating him to a level, to almost to a vaunted level, to the point where they're saying, Tom Allen said after the game, we want to swarm him. This is the best running back. He said it. This is the best running back we're going to see in years. He has to be swarmed. They tailored a defensive game plan around him. And it was out of respect, but I think there was also a sense of, disrespect probably goes too far, but there was a sense of maybe a little jaw-jutting on both sides of the football, I think, for Penn State. Defensively, saying, why, we've got a pretty good defense. Why would it be so surprising if we could shut down the Heisman Trophy runner-up? And offensively, Jaywan Slider said it. We think we got pretty good running backs, too. And if either one of these guys got 30 carries a game like Ashton Jeanty would, you'd probably be talking about them like Ashton Jeanty. So I think the game plan being centered on him from both sides of the ball, to me, was one of the more interesting elements of that game, that post game, and then they just executed it about as well as you could for the most part, and in doing so, especially defensively, being able to do so with Abdul Carter playing, I think, about 18 snaps before he had to go out, and then you just have to shift on a dime to what Tom Allen called their plan B on defense, which included, you saw Amin Vanover, Smith Gilbert, Max Granville, Dom DeLuca, changing roles a little bit, adjusting. The adjustment there, I think that pivot was so important. The way they were able to pivot without Abdul Carter and still, for the most part, control Jeanty.
Well, they've already had to make one major pivot this season. That was because of KJ Winston. Right. Because they went 8.5 months planning a certain way to play, and 5 quarters into the season they had to change it. So what does that tell you about the adaptability and the minds on the defensive side that they can make adjustments like that?
But yeah, those are two really unique situations because you're adapting KJ. The loss of KJ is long term.
Yes,
you have to readjust your defense, the way Jalen Reed plays, the way Zachy Wheatley plays, behind them the linebackers, how you're going to play them. Dr. Luca becomes a bigger presence, and he's got to take on a larger role, and has done so exceptionally well. In this case, this was a really micro and really acute and really quick pivot because they had Abdul Carter as he was on Ashton Jeanty duty essentially. Tom Allen kind of framed it that way. So we wanted him close to the line of scrimmage. We wanted him close to the ball. He had to be around the ball a lot, and then you lose that, and you lose the player who's best capable of performing that role on your defense. The quick pivot that they did this time kind of in a way mirrored what they did with Winston, but they had to do it so rapid fire, and to be able to get that, I think, was really impressive. That Abdul was off the field for the touchdown drive when the fullback went in and scored, but after that, they did settle in. They gave away some passing yards, tight end catches, that sort of thing. I think Matt's at about 300. Felt like they were willingly, giving those yards up just so they knew that Jeanty was not going to bounce off anything, and that was one of the great things to me. That the defensive play that really woke my eyes to this game and what they were capable of doing. I think it was the first carry of the second series when Denai Dennis-Sutton basically got back points by throwing Jeanty to the ground, and that was eye-opening. This is a defense that has come with a plan and a mission. Right.
Somebody had called into the pregame show, and there was a lot about, and they were asking about Jeanty, and justifiably so, right? And I finally said, you know what? Let's stop this right here. I said, Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton are not chopped liver on the other side. I want to talk about Allen first. I thought, and you didn't get a chance to see it, Mark, but in Monday's practice, Jack and I looked at it and said, he looks exceptionally quick. What was your thought on watching Katron Allen on the biggest stage of his career do what he did?
That's exceptionally quick. He was as fast as I've seen him make some cuts. There was, I think, maybe his first carry, one of a very early carry, got outside, maybe a 10 or 11 yard play. And there was a burst that had a little bit of Singleton in it. Just that little bit of hop that you thought, wow, he looks like he's got a step. And then it kept getting better, just better and better from that. And he was just gashing 8 yards a carry. One of his more underrated plays was, the offense had a rough second quarter and some penalties, and Drew, there was a stretch of, I think, 7 straight incompletions. He got sacked, and then they had the busted play touchdown that Boise State, the 58-yarder.
Right.
The first play of the next drive, I think it was first down they ran, and I think K-Tron picked up 9, and that was a jump start, and that led to Drew's big conversion, the big rushing conversion on third down, then with the defensive holding, and then the second touchdown to Tyler Warren. He was such K-Tron he seemed to be a jump start, like a kickstart to everything, and it just he seemed just kept moving the offense in the direction that they wanted to go, and that seemed to kind of like be the stepladder that Nick got on at the end.
Yeah, I was going to say, because at the end he'd been the guy that had been sort of bottled up all night, and then when he broke it, I mean, Mark, you and I both know that's the home run hitter he is. That's his longest run from scrimmage this season. Mm. And the irony of it is if you watch the play.
The interesting thing to me, I didn't get the yardage. I think because we were on our corner of the dams, it was hard to see. K-Tron broke one too. I thought it was 50.
It was.
I don't know the exact yardage of the one that came back too. I mean, he was pretty close to 200 yards,
right,
without breaking the big one too. And Jaywan Sider he kind of lamented that, because he said, Nick got his big one tonight. Nick got the big one in the Rose Bowl. Going back to 19, Journey Brown got the big one in the Cotton Bowl. And he said, I wish Nick could have had that, because that would have been kind of his signature moment. And K-Tron. Maybe, and I don't know if K-Tron is necessarily the signature moment kind of running back, but he just does so much consistently well. And, I mean, you can't ask for much more of him in the postseason. He's got 328 yards in 3 postseason games. He has been outrageously good at the best time of the year.
Right, which is exactly what they needed. Mm-hmm. Warren makes 2 terrific catches in the game for touchdowns. And then Evans, look, if you had to pick a guy that can take the top off on this team, it's Evans. Yeah. The fact that they were both so involved in what happened out there, what does that give in terms of the offensive versatility for this team? Because Warren's been the given all year.
They need something else besides Tyler Warren. And it was interesting that there were not many targets in that game. I think it was 4 players got targeted for touches and for receiving touches. Warren, Wallace, Evans, and Luke Reynolds. They didn't throw to the backs. Right. Really didn't throw to much of anybody else. It was half the targets went to Tyler Warren. So if you know that going in, there needs to be somebody else who can make those plays. And for Omari to be the player that he can be, he's got that. He's got the 40-yard, 50-yard downfield race catch in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
He just has to hit that. I mean, getting that for the touchdown, that's the kind of play that opposing defensive coordinators, the next 2, next 1 or 2, however many they play and whoever they see, has to look at number 5 and say, if this kid's racing downfield, we got to get a body on him. A safety has to be there something, because he can stretch us out, and that's a big problem. And that gives you Tyler Warren underneath. And then maybe, like I said, there were no touches for Liam Clifford, Julian Fleming in this game. If you forget about them, who knows? I mean, I don't know if USC forgot about Julian Fleming a couple of months ago. Feels like a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
But Penn State's not here without his 2 fourth-down catches against USC on that last drive. Mm-hmm. That's where getting people involved, they don't have to be involved necessarily every week, but I think it was really important to see Omari there, because it might not have to be Omari on January 9th. Maybe it's Liam, maybe it's Julian, Trey, maybe it is Omari again. Doesn't matter, but there needs to be somebody else with Tyler Warren.
This is a grind, all right?
Yeah, it's a grind for us. I can't imagine what it's like for them.
Right. Well, I'm saying that's why, when you talk with a reporter understands, like, from their job, the grind of it, which then gives at least people perspective on the grind it is for the players and for the teams. How important has it been that this has been James' program that is from day one starting in Ireland 1-0, and at this time of the year in this grind, it is heavily emphasized that it is still 1-0.
If you don't do that for 11 years, then I don't think you're able to get kids to buy into it consistently year after year. What I mean by that is James has made that kind of the bedrock, the foundation of the program. Right. And even though it might come across as just lip service to outside people and coach speak, and every coach has their own terminology for 1-0. If you don't live it, then you can lose games like that. You can lose games that you're not supposed to lose. That was one of the really interesting things. I talked to at the media day, and then some coaches and players. I wish I could remember. There was one player I asked, "How hard is it to?" I think it was Devon J. Thomas. It was like, "How hard is it to do this? How hard is it to live 1-0?" And he said, "It's not easy because it's a monotonous schedule, and we like to get out of our routines, right? Like here in Arizona, I wanted to play golf, get out of my routine, eat Mexican food, right? That kind of thing. But they have such a routine that they live by that becomes embedded and just innate to them, and that's part of the reason you're 31-5 in regular season games over the last 3 years, losing just to Ohio State and Michigan. Right. If you're not 1-0 mentality, and if you're not 1-0 program convictions, that 31-5 becomes 28-8 because you've lost to Minnesota or you've lost to Wisconsin, or you let a stray get away. And in 12-team playoff world, you can't let stray games get away. They haven't done it, and that's why they're here. In 12-team playoff world, when you got to play an extra game than other people or other teams might play, you can't let those two games get away. Penn State can be, Penn State can be told, or it can be said about Penn State that they had the easier path than Oregon, ostensibly. Mm-hmm. That may be so with seeding and teams, but Penn State had to play two games. That's still difficult to do. You still have to win those two games to get here. And from the outside, if you look at brands and names and things like that, if you do that inside, you lose the game, and then you get people even angrier. So doing that so consistently, so monotonously, it's got to be so difficult to me. But it's it's incredibly rewarding when you got confetti falling on your head.
There's no question about that. Also, the fact that they have been spending their time practicing here, and they've been going to the bowl sites a couple of days ahead of time. Don't you think it's helped just that they can stay here, spend time in their own bed, and not go around hotels and so forth? I mean, do you think that's helped at all?
I think so, because it turns it into a road game. And there's an ethos. There's a completely different ethos between bowl games and road games. They're playing bowl games right now. The whole concept of the bowl game in past is as the reward game. Joe Paterno used to take teams down before Christmas to bowl sites, and almost 10 days, 2 weeks in Florida. I've had players tell me, God, we couldn't wait to leave Florida because we were down there for so long. But this is, these playoff games are not necessarily. They're not rewards for good seasons in terms of a trip. They're rewards for good seasons in terms of winning a national championship. So it's really important. And the players, I think, probably pivoted really easily to this. Maybe the coaches and staff, it might have been harder because you have the concept of what a bowl game is and what a bowl trip is. I think just for the players, they talked about it like going to USC. They really did, that the mindset was exactly the same. So older players have more bowl experience, so they probably had to do a little bit more mind training in this. But I think for the younger players, they're playing road games.
I mean, Mark, it's interesting you mentioned that. James talked to the players about it being a business trip. And he said the message was mostly for the older players because the younger players don't know any better than what they're doing right now.
Right.
So, I mean, I thought that was interesting. Mark?
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Steve.
Oh, no. Go ahead, Mark. We're not done.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, that's what I just think that to me was one of the really more interesting things. I think I did a story about their whole LTFI thing coming from the Fiesta Bowl, just their newest 1-0 that kind of went viral. And for the player, that's more of a fan thing. It's interesting because that was one of the points the players made is like that we do that already.
Yeah.
Like we lock in already. We see James that way already, and it's been really good for fans to see him that way. That was one of the curious things to me. But Sal Wormley said when they arrived, I guess whatever date it was, I think the 28th maybe when they arrived in Phoenix, it was just like they were there they had a couple hours, team meeting, dinner, bed. It was not bowl trip. So they're really getting the full treatment, I think, of the concept of not just even now road game, but playoff road game, and how that is just a completely different animal and concept than bowl trip.
You're the best, my man. Thank you so much, Mark. It was great to see you out there.
So much.
Looking forward to Miami.
Miami.
Yep, see you in Miami. Thanks.
Thanks.
Mark Wogenrich, half hour brought to you by Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummels Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com, here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When car repairs get difficult.
Well, I just don't know. Me neither.
We get good. Sunbury Motors. More than quality new and used cars, Sunbury Motors specializes in complicated auto repair diagnosis. They can handle intricate repairs and even complete auto body with service open Monday through Friday, 7 till 4. And Sunbury Motors has made simple repairs easy. Maintaining your vehicle is necessary. Finding the time to do it is difficult. Welcome to Sunbury Motors Quick Lane. Just walk in or call ahead. Relax in their remodeled waiting room with Wi-Fi, beverages, and snacks. While Sunbury Motors factory-trained techs take care of your oil change, tire alignments, brakes, and inspections. Quick Lane, 6:30 to 6 Monday through Friday, Saturday 6:30 till 2. Sunbury Motors, Ford and Hyundai, North 4th Street, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummels Wharf. We take the out of auto repair.
Bringing you an in-depth look at Penn State sports and more. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. The Steve Jones Show is presented by Purdy Insurance, Brewers Outlet, and Sunbury Motor Company. Now from the Sunbury Motor Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Great to be with you on the show today. This half hour brought to you by Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. Auto, home, life, business, boat, motorcycle, RV. The insurance needs, it's always a list, and you need insurance. I mean, you just need it. Yeah. You spend 20 minutes around the suit, and you know darn well you need insurance. What? Tell me I'm wrong. You're jumping in to say I'm wrong.
I was just going to note it was the first suit dig of the year.
It's going to be a long year for one guy, I can tell you that. Kidding. But Purdy Insurance, they will make sure that you're fully insured and they save you money. It's all Purdy Insurance, Market Street in Sunbury. Go to purdyinsurance.com. It's part of the grant. So I'll tell the story, but it is not a complaint. Okay, could I preface that by saying it? I could not go on the charter because I had basketball on Sunday. Okay, so I set up a flight. Not going to say which airline because I'm not going to embarrass airlines and things like that. I'm not going to do that. That was going to leave. The game was at 1, end about 3. post-game show at 3:30, and then I arranged for Dick Girardi. I had Kathy drop me off we dropped the car off earlier at the east parking deck, and then, then I said, don't bother going into the, so she wasn't going to go to the game, and we'd already had our tickets committed, so. And I said, I asked Dick to take me to the airport. That's why I was kidding on the broadcast Sunday about it. I said, the most expensive Uber driver. I said, wait till he gets the ratings. 5 stars, of course. He drops me off, 5:30 flights. I'm there, I'm there about 4 o'clock. I go through security. And then everything's, it says on time. And then suddenly about 5:15, I look out, there's still no plane there. I'm like, it's normally a prerequisite to flight success. I'm like, okay. All right. Well, 5:30 comes and goes. Right? It's pushed back to 6:03. Now, my connection is in Chicago, and the next flight is at 7:55 or 8:55 Eastern Time. Okay. So, all right. Well, finally 6:03 becomes 6:33. Okay. And once we get on the plane, the pilot does a great job. He got us to Chicago in 1 hour and 17 minutes. Todd, pretty good. All right, and we didn't have to circle around. We just came straight in. So I'm looking at my phone, and I'm like, okay, we'll pull into the gate maybe 7:05 or so, and it turns out that the 2 gates are 5 minutes apart. We're going into 24. The gate I have to go at is 12. Don't have to change concourses. We're good. Also, we pull up and we stop. Like, you don't think twice about that. There may be somebody in the taxiway or crossing. It doesn't matter. But now we're sitting there. And finally, the pilot, to his credit, the pilot's telling us what's going on. He wasn't going to keep this a mystery. And he says, there's a plane parked at our gate. I'm like, oh, man. But, I'm thinking, okay, plane parked at gate 5, 6, 7, 8. They're just going to pull it out here in a second. We're going to go in. All right. Well, we're sitting there for half an hour. Now it's 7:30. So I get on my phone, and I change flights. There's a 9:15 to Phoenix. I'm going to change over, which is 10:15 Eastern Time. Okay. Well, it turns out to be the right move because we get in there at 7:45. And I had to walk past the gate I was supposed to go to anyway because the gate I had to go to is B3. And so I'm walking by B12, and it's completely dark. They said, hey, just out of curiosity, I said, that plane leave on time? They said it left 10 minutes early. I'm like, yeah, okay. Great. So I go down to the next gate, and I get there. And, and all of you who have flown, you have lived this, you've walked. I've walked in your shoes, you've walked in my shoes, right? 9:15 becomes 9:45. Becomes 10:15. Why? Because the plane they brought there was a mechanical problem with one of the engines. I thought, somebody went up and asked, so I'm standing in the back, and I heard them give the answer, well, it's actually one of the engines. And I thought to myself, that's pretty big. Yeah, I don't think I want to get on that flight. So we had to wait for a flight to come in from San Diego. And finally got on the plane at 11:15, which is 12. Now it's 12:15 in the morning in the East. Get into Phoenix. I think I get in there at 2:15, something like that. All right, and which is in Phoenix is 4:15 in the East. Remember, I was at the airport at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So go through the airport, go around, make the big U-turn, go down to ground transportation, get an Uber. It's about 25 minutes to Uber out to where we stayed in Scottsdale. I get the key, and it's so early in the morning. The woman at the desk says, I don't know how to do credit cards. I said, but I have your key. I said, can you come back down in the morning? I said, of course I'll come back down in the morning. Right? So I get my key. I walked in my room at about 3:20 in the morning, so that's 5:20 in the East. And I was asleep by 5:30 or 3:30 there. For whatever reason, I woke up at 10 of 8. And I thought, I should probably stay up anyway. And I get a text from Greg Kincaid. He says, hey, James would like to do the pregame at 9:10 this morning before he does the ESPN meeting. Like, perfect. Right, so I did that. Then I went to practice. Then we had the pep rally. I said my usual stupid stuff at that. And then I had dinner that night. And you know what weird thing is, Todd? I felt great the whole day. I have no idea why. I was like, I feel great. Right? Next day, game day, felt great the whole day. Right? Okay, did the game. You know, because it's a 45-minute bus ride with a police escort from Scottsdale to Glendale. So that means, we had to wait for all the players to do all their media and everything like that after the game. They pack up. So we, get back in the bus, 45-minute ride back to the hotel. We got back to the hotel at, I want to say midnight. So it's 2 a.m. in the East. And we were supposed to be gathered downstairs to get our bus to the airport for the charter at 6:20. So, of course, I want to be at 6 o'clock because I want to check out and everything like that. So I got to sleep at 12:30, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, 5.5 hours, woke up, here we go. I got on the plane, came back, got it back here this afternoon. Saw almost the entire Rose Bowl. But it was like one of those, right? The game day, I slept. I was like, I got like 9 hours of sleep. That was great. But, nope. Didn't get much one night, didn't get much yesterday. But it's part of the job. And all of you out there have experienced exactly what I'm talking about. So you know what I'm talking about. You've all gone through it. You probably all have your long list of stories, too. But, like, when we're talking about the grind, that was part of the grind.
Steve, we have some questions from Tom in Arizona.
Tom, are you still in Arizona, or do you live there?
Hey, Steve. Happy New Year. Yes, I live about 2 hours west of Glendale.
Please tell me it's 73 or 74 there right now.
It is, and there's not a cloud in the sky.
That's beautiful. It's such a beautiful, beautiful area, Tom. I mean, I love that area.
Yes, it was great, and was able to take my son and be at the game on Tuesday. What a game! Even I couldn't believe that we were outmanned as far as fans, like 2 to 3 to 1. But still, It was just a great atmosphere.
Yeah, it was, and I'll make a point about that part a little bit later, because it's part of the grind. Fans have to make choices. Fortunately for you, the choice was your own backyard.
Yes, and not Miami, but hey, I'm glad they're going. I just had 2 quick questions.
Please.
One was both was an observation at the game. I noticed that even several times, not just once or twice, but several times, it seemed the defense wasn't ready when the ball was snapped by Boise State. I mean, I don't even know if it was maybe even in the third quarter. Was there a reason? Were they doing something that was catching the defense maybe off guard before they were set, before a play began? I couldn't tell you when it was, but it just seemed like it was several times that happened.
Where Boise State wasn't set? Or Penn State wasn't set?
No, where Penn State's defense wasn't set. It seemed like maybe one time they were like, a guy didn't get on the field quick enough. Or they were just kind of moving all around, and then
they were moving around. When they were out there moving around, they were trying to give Boise State different looks. Right?
Gotcha.
In terms of getting a person on the field, that's just, hey, you should be out there and you shouldn't be. That's what that's about. So that's something you're trying to. And if Boise State had substituted, you're allowed to do that. Okay. You're allowed to make a substitution if they substituted. So if you had to run somebody on late because they substituted, you're allowed to do that. But the moving around part, that was to give them different looks, all different looks.
Right. The second question was, and this happened, I think, in the third quarter, where one of our offensive guys got a face mask on because all he was doing was blocking.
Yes.
And I thought back to where you had said that when you were watching the SMU tape that you felt like, hey, you didn't say this till afterwards, that, hey, it was kind of like a mismatch. I felt like that call was just basically a mismatch because our offensive line was probably a lot heavier, a lot stronger.
Yeah.
Did you feel like going in that was kind of the same way? There's a little bit of a mismatch, or did you feel like it was a straight-on, solid game coming in?
I thought it was a mismatch. Hockney, the end, I like very, very much. I mean, a lot. Could play for me any day. Oladipo could play for me any day. And he's one of the safety linebackers. In fact, he had the fumble recovery in the play. I think Oladipo's really, really good. But for the most part, I'll be honest with you, I felt like in watching the matchup of the lines, there are a lot of just another guys out there. And on the offensive line, the center and the guard are terrific. The left tackle's really good. Boise's problem is the right tackle and the left guard. I knew they were going to struggle. I could see it on the tape. So.
Well, have a great 25 and go Penn State and Miami.
Tom, what an absolute pleasure. You live 2 hours away from Glendale. Thanks so much for calling the show today. I really enjoyed it and appreciate your perspective very much.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Have a good one.
You too. Good questions. Yeah, the face mask penalty. Sal got up, and the guy was going down, and Sal got his hand on the helmet and the face mask, and he didn't disengage fast enough. And, was it the right call? Yeah, technically it was the right call. I mean, in fact, he knows I've said nothing about calls in the game. Like, it's whatever. It was the officiating was good enough. It was an SEC crew. And no matter what Penn State gets in the next game, well, they could end up with a Big 12 crew. They could end up with a Big 12 or an SEC crew for the Orange Bowl because they can't get an ACC crew because of Notre Dame. You can't get an SEC crew if it's Georgia. So I guess it does open it up to ACC, Big 12, SEC, as to what they could get as a crew. Yeah, whatever. You just go with what's there. Yeah, you just go with what's there. Great questions, though. Glad we got the call in. I mean, we kind of span the globe here on this show, don't we?
I know. We're like the wide world of sports.
In fact, I wanted to make that one point because he talked about the ability to go to the game. This is something in the NCAA basketball tournament. Pods help, but they have to make choices as fans all the time. Hey, do I buy tickets? I'm a Duke fan, so I can go to the Greensboro or Charlotte or whatever. Yeah, but what about the next round at the regional? Yeah, what about the Final Four? And you'll have fans making decisions between the regional and the Final Four as to whether they can, which one they can go to. This is a little more difficult because in this case, more games. Yeah, the first game was at home, but now you got the game in Arizona. So Tom was able to go. And Penn State was well represented at the game. But for Boise State, coming down from Idaho was a little bit easier, and they hadn't played for 3 weeks. Penn State fans have already had to make decisions on going to Indianapolis, home game, Glendale. Now they have to make a decision on Miami. So these are a lot of financial decisions, flights, hotels, ground transportation, whatever it happens to be, and what your finances say you can and can't do. It's a grind for the fans, too, and there's a lot of decisions. Now, there'll be more Penn State fans at the Orange Bowl because I think a lot of people were like, okay, travel-wise, in the East, that's a great spot to go to. So, yeah. Okay. Take a break. Brought to you by Purdy Insurance here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Hi, this is Season. For over 100 years, the Purdy Insurance Agency has been protecting families and businesses of the greater Susquehanna Valley and beyond. With the experience of our trained and knowledgeable staff, you can rest assured that your needs will be evaluated and met by some of the industry's best representatives. No matter what your insurance needs are, call Purdy Insurance today at 570-286-5855 Visit our website at purdyinsurance.com or check us out on Facebook to see what we can do for you.
Hi, this is Dave Moyer for the Benjamin T. Moyer Furniture Store in Sunbury. As we kick off 2025, we've got an incredible sale we can't wait to share with you. Our iDesign Sleeper Sofa Sale. Let's be honest, family visits are great, but spending the night on an uncomfortable sleeper sofa, tossing and turning with that bar poking in the middle of your back, not so much. But at Moyers, we're raising the bar on your sleeper sofa experience. Introducing the iDesign series of sleeper sofas, where you are the interior designer. With our easy-to-use program, you get to choose the sofa size, twin, full, or queen, and pick from 3 stylish arm designs, fabric patterns, and colors. It's completely customizable to fit your space. Want added durability? Opt for our extra durable performance fabric for just a few dollars more. And if you're ready for the ultimate comfort, upgrade your mattress to Cool Gel Memory Foam. The choices are all yours. So why wait? Visit the Benjamin T. Moyer Furniture Store in Sunbury today to take advantage of our iDesign Sleeper Sofa Sale. But hurry, this offer ends January 31st. We look forward to helping you design the perfect sleeper sofa.
They did what I think everyone hoped they would do in beating Boise State 31-14. We're in a world of talk show hot takes. That's why most talk shows are virtually worthless these days. I always get people say to me, well, X said this on his show, and Y said that on his or her show. And I'll say, what do you care what they think? Are they on the committee? They have a vote? Who cares? Right? But we're in a world of hot takes. The whole purpose of the show is that when the show is over, did you do something in the show where you felt like people knew more? Hot take, will LeBron and Curry team up with the Golden State Warriors? I don't care. I'll talk about it if it ever happens. I mean, come on. That's why we're talking about the grind of this. We're talking about, Penn State's offensive line. I mean, they've had, 4 straight games where Penn State has rushed for better than 200 yards. In some ways, Penn State gave Ohio State the blueprint on how to attack the Oregon defense. Because, Penn State rang up 515 yards against that Oregon defense. They had 292 on the ground. Really? Hey, you don't think that they sat there and took a long, hard look at how Penn State attacked that defense? Now, as for Notre Dame and Georgia, they're going to play at 4 this afternoon. People are talking about the short rest. Oh, yeah, the recovery. Now, I mentioned the grind, so the recovery part's absolutely legit. It always is. But what is today, Todd?
Thursday.
Yeah. When's the game?
Thursday?
Yeah.
All right.
This is the equivalent of going Saturday to Saturday. What's the difference? Notre Dame, Georgia hasn't played in nearly 3 weeks. Haven't played nearly 3 weeks. Recovery? They're going to get banged up. Everybody does. Okay? And Notre Dame hasn't played in 13 days. It's like they're coming off a bye week. Is it a factor? Sure. Right? But at the same time, yeah, while it's a factor, and it certainly works to Penn State's benefit that, they traveled back yesterday, and Penn State will get back. I think they're getting back to work tomorrow, if I understand it right, because tomorrow would be the Sunday practice. But, you're going to watch all the studio people. Not as much time. They're going to go through the whole rigmarole. Excuse me. It's like you're coming off a bye week during the season, and then you're playing Saturday to Saturday. What the heck is the difference? What's the difference?
Something to talk about for a week.
Exactly. That's all it is. Something to talk about for a week. And I can tell you right now, if Penn State were in this spot, I'd mention it. But it would just be worthy of mentioning it. And then after that, I'd tell you it's no big deal and move on. Because you know me, I don't make a big deal out of much of anything. It's like, okay, that's the way it is. Let's go. I mean, today would be Saturday. Next Thursday would be Saturday. It's the same as a regular season game. And both these teams are coming off extended times out. Because remember, Notre Dame played first on the 20th. They haven't played since. Now, Notre Dame will not have Riley Mims today. And they won't have him the rest of the way. He leads the team in tackles for losses and sacks. He's done. And, of course, we know Carson Beck's out.